back to what I said about you as a lead-in. In 1997, she overcame the biggest battle of her life, breast cancer. That struggle led to her latest album, which is an intimate account of her recuperation. Is that right or wrong?
The word cancer is like the word shark. You know, you say it and everybody gets extremely disturbed. There are lots of different types of cancers. There are lots of different kinds of chemotherapies. You know, I didn't have a desperately horrible kind, and I feel very extremely lucky because it wasn't, you know, I mean, it wasn't the kind that had metastasized. So I feel extremely lucky. There are other battles that I've gone through that I feel were more wrecking or wreaked more havoc with my life.
Like what?
So, raising kids. I think raising two kids and going
havoc
through.
With your life?
Well, it was, you know, it's harrowing. Have you got kids?
No.
Well, then you don't know.
I'll take some of yours.
I mean, every time there's a temperature, every time there's a problem in school, every time you get a call from a parent of a friend of theirs saying, "What did you bring home from the?" You know, there's just, I mean, having kids is an amazingly great and harrowing experience. And then I went through a divorce. That was difficult. But after I had finished chemotherapy, and this may be in a broader sense a part of the whole cancer treatment, but after I finished chemo, I got extremely depressed, which may have been as a result of what the chemo does to your brain function, which I'm sure that it must deplete the brain of some important neurotransmitters or minerals or whatever we need. But that was, you know, I would say that was more sort of enduring pain. While I was going through the cancer treatments, my warriors were in full regalia. You know, I was dressed, I was mobilized. It was after it was over that I was really surprised that I felt so incredibly depleted and so depressed. And it lasted, I mean, that was really hard. That lasted for 6 or 8 months.
And is some of that in here?
Yes. There are 2 songs that specifically deal with that time. I wouldn't say that the other songs on I mean, there are 11 songs on the Bedroom Tapes,
right,
which is the name of the album. And
got that.
And I would
this is in fact the album.
That's the album right there. Look at it.
And the songs are, tell me which 2. Our Affair. What's that about?
Our Affair is about the titillation, the electricity that you feel when you're engaging somebody in that wonderful dance that men and women engage in. And it's before the consummation of any resulting affair that might happen. It's that great period where your endorphins and your energy is just flowing freely.
Now, this doesn't have to be sort of like extramarital affair. You're just talking about our affair, meaning...
It is a sexual affair, but it's not an extramarital, no.
Oh, you're just talking about when the period before...
You were the one that said extramarital.
Well, you know, when you think of affair, you think of that. I mean, you think of an affair, and that may be sort of suggesting a usage of the word that's not EA, that other people don't think. But when I think of affair, well, I would say our romance would be what I would be saying to the other thing. So I may be wrong here, so everybody else may have the perception you do. I'd say our romance would be...
Well, you're very right in a way. The reason I wrote Our Affair is that I was thinking, gee, Anticipation was such a good title. I wish I could think of a title that was as catchy as that. And I said, let me look in the dictionary. And I just took out a dictionary and I started with A. And affair, I thought, affair. Of course, Our Affair. Yeah. And it was as simple as that. I was actually looking, and all songs start from a very different place, but that song started with the dictionary.
They all start from a different place, meaning they can start with sort of what?
Some songs start with, we can be having a conversation and a sentence will strike me, or the cadence of a word, a nice sounding word, or the condensation of an idea.
What did You're So Vain start with? You're
So Vain started with, well, there was originally a song that had the melody of what is now You're So Vain. It was called Bless You, Ben.
Bless You, Ben?
Yeah, and it went, bless you, Ben, you came in when nobody else left off. And it was a whole lyric and a song called Bless You, Ben. Yeah. Never went anywhere. I could never fall in love with it. And then I was at a party and somebody walked in and my friend said to me, doesn't he look like he's just walked onto a yacht? And so I thought to myself, let me write that in my notebook. And I wrote that in my notebook, and one day when I was playing the piano and I was playing bless you, Ben, I thought, wait a minute, da-da, bless you, Ben, you came in where nobody else, you walked into the party like you were walking onto a yacht, and the exchange was equal, and it felt natural, and it felt good, and then I could get into that man. I knew who I was talking about.
Warren Beatty.
Well, not at all.
Not at all?
Well, maybe a little bit.
Now, was it a one-man, was it Warren, or was it a composite for you?
Most songs are a composite.
Oh, they really?
Most songs are.
Was this one?
I don't know.
You really don't. I mean, he was one, but there may have been others that formed in your imagery when you wanted to say what you were saying about
Henry Kissinger.
like walking on a yacht. Henry Kissinger. All right, let's continue this. This is interesting. So Many Stars. Where's that come from?
So Many Stars came from walking around New York City. The whole album was going to be about New York City women,
Right.
and different songs coming out of the heads, out of the thinking of different New York City women. And I myself was walking around, and I thought, I wonder if I really did love him. And I thought that as I turned onto Union Square. And then I thought that as I slipped my token into a turnstile. And then I thought that as I was avoiding a Jakey, I call him, on Broome Street. And I thought of that as I went into Manny's music store for some strings. And just this kind of, did I love him? Didn't I? Would I recognize him if I saw him among so many stars? If I'm looking over the Hudson River into the sunset, would I recognize him? Did I really love him?
Yeah. In Honor of You, George came from what?
In Honor of You, George was kind of a breakthrough song for me, because I was in a kind of a writer's block, which all writers know about, and they seem to be never ending. This one was a pretty bad one. It was before the cancer, so that in a way I attribute the cancer for kind of getting me out of it, because you fight a life-threatening disease with life, and life in this case was my music. But before that, there was sort of a writer's block, and so I was doing other things during that time, but I couldn't write any songs that I liked. So one night I was in a bar in Woods Hole. I was waiting for the ferry, and many of us have spent a lot of time in that bar. And so I heard Embraceable You come on, whether it was a jukebox or a sound system just in the restaurant, I'm not sure, in the bar. But I thought, that's such an amazing song. And I had just finished rereading Nausea by Sartre, and thinking about the man who finds his existential meaning in listening to a song that he attributes to an American composer. And it just kind of synchronistically came together for me. And I heard this song, and I thought, Embraceable You, and I thought about Gershwin, and I thought about, I wonder if he caught the train, if he found the woman, if he wrote the song that he loved himself for, if he found himself. And at the end of my song, I say, I will catch the train, I will go back to the piano, and let the notes do what they'll do, in honor of you, George, in honor of you.